A few days ago, we heard some major news out of Cleveland regarding Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders in this quarterback battle. So, don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. Let me be straight with you for a second. If you've been following Cleveland Browns news for the last 7 days, you already know exactly what I'm about to talk about. Because the headlines have been spinning so fast, I'm not even sure the people writing them know what they're saying anymore. One day, Shedeur Sanders is the locked-in starter. The kid is the guy. The franchise is his. Then you blink. You scroll, you refresh the timeline 24 hours later, and suddenly Deshaun Watson is back on top, presumably the day one starter, presumably the man taking that first snap in week 1. And every single fan watching this is sitting there going, what is actually going on inside this building? And I'm here to tell you the truth. Nothing. Absolutely nothing is going on. That's the dirty little secret nobody wants to say out loud. The Cleveland headline machine is doing what the Cleveland headline machine always does. It's manufacturing drama, it's milking clicks, it's keeping Browns fans emotionally hostage in the middle of May for a quarterback decision that does not get made until August. That's the game. That's the entire game. Because here's the cold, hard reality nobody on those insider reports wants to admit. No reps, no tape. No verdict. No reps with the full skill position group on the field. No live periods against a real defense flying around. No preseason snaps under stadium lights with real bullets flying. Not one single moment of football has happened that actually decides this competition. So when somebody tells you on a Tuesday afternoon that one quarterback has pulled ahead of the other, what they're really telling you is that they need a story to publish before lunch. But here's where it gets bigger, because this isn't just a quarterback battle. This is a referendum on the entire direction of the Cleveland Browns franchise. This is a referendum on every decision Andrew Berry has made in the last 3 years. This is the moment that defines whether the Watson contract becomes one of the worst commitments in modern NFL history, or whether it gets quietly redeemed by the most unlikely turnaround you've ever seen. And on the other side of that ball, you've got Shedeur Sanders, a rookie quarterback who walked into the most pressure-packed quarterback room in the entire league, carrying expectations no 22-year-old should ever have to carry. 2 men. 2 completely different fights. Watson is fighting for a legacy that's been bleeding out for years. Sanders is fighting to launch a career that the entire football world is waiting to either celebrate or bury. And that contrast? That's why this is the most electric quarterback battle in the NFL right now. Nothing else even comes close. So when you see the next leak drop on your timeline tonight, when the next anonymous source whispers something into a reporter's ear about who's pulling ahead, do me one favor. Take a breath, tune it out, because the real story doesn't get written in May. It gets written when the pads come on, when training camp opens, when the real bullets start flying. And that story is just getting started. Now let me tell you what the headlines aren't telling you. Because if you only watch Cleveland through the lens of breaking news tweets, you're missing the real story. The real story is happening inside that building every single day, in moments that no camera ever catches. And that's where Shedeur Sanders is quietly stacking something a lot more valuable than headlines. He's stacking respect. Watch how he runs a huddle. Watch the tempo of it. Watch the way veterans on that offense look at him when he's calling a play. That's not something you fake. That's not something you buy with a draft pick. That's earned day by day, rep by rep, conversation by conversation. And from everything I've seen, everything I've heard out of that locker room, this kid is spending leadership currency like he's been doing it for 10 years. He walked into Cleveland, a team that has been emotionally beaten up for over a decade, and started carrying himself like he belonged in that QB room from the moment his cleats hit the grass. That matters. That matters more than the public ever realizes. Now look at the other side. Look at Deshaun Watson. The talent? Undeniable. We all know what he was in Houston. We all know the arm, the legs, the playmaking. But the connection between Watson and the Cleveland fan base has been bleeding out for 3 straight years. Injuries, off-field noise, stretches of football that just didn't look anything like the quarterback the Browns paid for. And that's the brutal truth that nobody in the front office wants to say out loud. They need that contract to look justified. They need it badly. But they also need the locker room to genuinely believe in whoever takes that first snap in week 1. And those two things might be pulling in opposite directions right now. That's why Todd Monken hasn't made a decision yet. That's why he can't make a decision yet. The ambiguity is the weapon. As long as both quarterbacks think the job is up for grabs, both quarterbacks are going to give him every ounce of effort they have. That's coaching. That's Cleveland trying to squeeze maximum value out of every single rep this offseason. And here's where fans need to take a breath. Because every time a practice clip drops, Twitter loses its mind. Somebody overthrows a route. The doubters celebrate. Somebody hits a deep ball. The believers go nuclear. But real chemistry? Real timing between a quarterback and his receivers? That doesn't get built in May. Casey Concepcion hasn't run full-speed routes against live coverage with this offense yet. Denzel Boston is still finding his footing. The offensive line hasn't even fully clicked together, so judging this competition off of a 15-second clip is like judging a movie off the opening credits. But here's what you need to understand, no matter what the headlines scream, Shedeur Sanders is in this race deeply, undeniably. He's right there. And the locker room? They already know. Now let's talk about the noise. Because you cannot tell the story of Shedeur Sanders without telling the story of the doubters. From the moment this kid declared for the draft, the takes started flying. He's not a first-round talent. His arm strength isn't elite, his mechanics need work, his decision-making is shaky, his pocket presence is overrated. And let's not pretend there wasn't another layer underneath all of that, the Sanders last name. The columnists who built entire careers off taking shots at this family had a fresh target the second Shedeur put on a pro jersey. Every throw, every interview, every sideline shot. Doubled scrutiny every single second. And yet, here he is, in Cleveland. Walking into one of the most pressurized situations any rookie quarterback has stepped into in modern NFL memory. Think about it for a second. He's not just trying to beat out a backup. He's stepping into a fan base that's already split down the middle. He's standing across the room from a quarterback the city has emotionally moved on from. He's carrying expectations that no 22-year-old should ever have to carry. And on top of all that, he's doing it with a microscope on his face that the average rookie quarterback never even has to think about. You think Caleb Williams had this kind of pressure last year? You think Jaden Daniels walked into Washington with this kind of media weight on his shoulders? Not even close. This is its own category. This is its own beast. But let's be fair, because Watson is fighting his own war too. The criticism on his side is just as loud, just as relentless. The questions about rust after extended time away. The shoulder. The legitimate doubts about whether he can ever be the quarterback Cleveland traded a generation of draft capital for, the fan base that used to chant his name now sits in silence when he takes the field. That's a different kind of pressure. That's the pressure of trying to climb back to a version of yourself that the world isn't sure exists anymore. So when you hear me talk about this quarterback battle, understand something. These two men are not just fighting each other. They're fighting noise that most quarterbacks in this league never have to face. They're fighting public perception, media narratives, history, expectation, and doubt. And the only way out of doubt in this league is through it. The only way through it is to perform when the lights come on and the stadium fills up and the bullets start flying for real. They doubted his arm. They doubted his timing. They doubted the noise around him. And he's still here, still throwing, still grinding, still showing up every single day inside that building like he's got something to prove. Because he does. They both do. Pressure either breaks you or sharpens you. There is no middle ground in this league, and Cleveland is about to find out which side both of these quarterbacks land on. Now, let me show you the side of this story that nobody on television is paying attention to. Because while the headlines are obsessing over who's QB1 today and who's QB1 tomorrow, something quieter is happening inside that Cleveland practice facility. Something real. Something that doesn't make highlight reels but matters more than any of them. Shedeur Sanders is climbing. Slowly, steadily, quietly, and if you know what to look for, you can see it. Watch his footwork in the pocket. It's cleaner than it was 3 weeks ago. Watch how fast he's getting to his second read. The processing speed has jumped. Watch how he carries himself between snaps. The way he resets. The way he handles a bad rep without letting it bleed into the next one. That's not rookie behavior. That's veteran behavior. That's a kid who already understands what most quarterbacks don't figure out until their third or fourth year in this league. And here's the thing about the quarterback position that fans never want to hear. It's built in inches, not yards. Nobody wakes up one morning and becomes elite. You stack one tiny inch on top of another every single day until one day you turn around and realize you've climbed a mountain. And every single inch Shedeur Sanders is stacking right now is an inch he doesn't have to claw for in October when the games actually matter. That's the work. That's the part nobody films. Then there's the human side of this kid that I think gets criminally underrated. Shedeur grew up under a microscope. He learned how to handle a press conference before most rookies have ever even seen one. He learned how to handle criticism, how to handle hype, how to handle the noise, all before he ever took an NFL snap. That preparation, that's showing up right now in Cleveland in ways the cameras will never capture. The way he walks into that locker room, the way he talks to coaches, the way he answers reporters without flinching. That's a kid who's been getting ready for this his entire life. And here's the part I want you to really hear. The competition itself is a gift. Going up against a quarterback like Deshaun Watson every single day in practice, that's the fastest accelerant a young quarterback can possibly get. Iron sharpens iron. There is no easier way to grow as a passer than to be forced to compete against a veteran who's already played at an elite level in this league. Every day, that's the standard he's measuring himself against. Every day, that's the bar. So look ahead with me for a second. Training camp is coming. Joint practices are coming. Preseason snaps under real lights are coming. And what feels uncertain today is going to look obvious 3 months from now. The climb is happening. The growth is real. Most people just aren't paying attention to the right details. But you and me, we see it. Now here's where I want to bring this whole thing home. Because everything we've talked about up to this point, the headlines, the doubts, the locker room dynamics, the quiet climb, all of it leads to this one truth. This isn't just a quarterback battle. This is a turning point for the entire Cleveland Browns franchise. Whoever wins this job isn't just earning week 1 reps. They're shaping the next 10 years of Browns football. 10 years. Think about that for a second. The decision that gets made inside that building this summer is going to ripple through this organization for a decade. So let me give you my prediction. And I'm not going to play it safe. I'm going to give you the truth as I see it. If Shedeur Sanders takes this job in training camp, Cleveland is entering a new era 3 years ahead of schedule. We're talking about a franchise that suddenly has its quarterback of the future locked in on a rookie contract with an entire roster that can be built around him. That's a championship window that opens way faster than anybody is predicting right now. And if Watson holds him off, if the veteran takes week 1 and Shedeur sits and learns, then Cleveland just acquired the most dangerous backup quarterback in the entire NFL. Because the moment opportunity strikes, the moment Watson struggles or gets banged up, Shedeur Sanders is walking onto that field with a full season of preparation and a chip on his shoulder the size of Lake Erie. You see what I'm telling you? Either way, this story ends with Shedeur Sanders on that field. Either way, there is no version of this that ends with him fading into the background. He's coming. He's coming. He's coming. And the entire AFC North better start preparing for that reality right now. And to every Browns fan who's been beaten down by years of quarterback chaos, every fan who watched Tim Couch and Brady Quinn and Johnny Manziel and the endless carousel of names that never panned out, this might finally be the moment the cycle breaks. This might finally be the quarterback that delivers what this city has been begging for since 1999. I'm not telling you to bet the house. I'm telling you to pay attention. Something real is happening in Cleveland. Something different. Something that feels like the beginning of an actual era instead of another false dawn. So here's my message to you. Stay locked in. Tune out the noise. Trust the process. And do not miss what's about to unfold inside that building over the next 3 months. Because by the time the regular season kicks off, this story is going to look completely different than it does today. If you're with me on this ride, hit that like button, drop a comment below telling me who you think wins the job, and subscribe to the channel. This isn't just content, this is a community. Welcome to the family.